Hey everyone, and welcome to a special exam-ready explainer from all of us here at A1 Institute. Today, we are tackling a really fascinating question from the Age of Industrialization. If steam power was this huge, game-changing thing, why was so much work still done by hand?
Okay, let's just dive right into this, because it's a bit of a paradox, isn't it? We think of the Industrial Revolution and we picture steam engines and massive machines. But the reality in Victorian Britain was, a lot of the work was still powered by people. So why? Let's break it down. And hey, while we're getting into it, if you want to make sure you ace those exams, go ahead and like, subscribe, and definitely hit that notification bell. The A1 Institute channel has a ton of Class 10 content coming your way, and you don't want to miss it. So first up, why would a factory owner, an industrialist, actually choose a person over a shiny new machine? It seems kind of backwards, right? Well, it turns out there were some very, very powerful reasons, and most of them came down to pure economics. The biggest reason, and you really have to get this, was that there were just so many people. You had peasants, you had vagrants, you had all sorts of people moving from the countryside into the cities, all of them looking for a job. This created an absolutely massive surplus of labor.
And here's where it all connects. When you have that many people desperate for work, what happens to wages? They stay low, really low. So industrialists could find cheap labor with no problem at all. You have to ask yourself, why would they spend a huge fortune on expensive new machines when people were so cheap and available?
On top of that, a lot of these industries were seasonal. Think about it. Gasworks and breweries. They were way busier in the cold winter months. Bookbinders and printers. They needed a ton of extra hands right before Christmas. For them, it just didn't make sense to invest in big machines that would just sit there, idle, for half the year. And then there was the type of stuff being made. You see, machines are fantastic for making thousands of identical things. But the upper classes, the rich folks, they wanted fancy, custom-made, intricate designs. And get this, in the mid-19th century, there were 500 different kinds of hammers being produced.
And it wasn't just hammers. At the same time, they were making 45 different kinds of axes. I mean, that's just wild, and it really drives the point home. That incredible level of variety and specific detail, no machine back then could handle it. That required the skill, the precision, the adaptability of a real human being.
So yeah, all this cheap labor was great for the business owners. But what was it actually like for the workers, for the people themselves? Well, as you can probably guess, it was a life filled with uncertainty and just plain hardship.
In this account from a man named Will Thorne, wow, it really brings it to life. He walked for days just to get to London to find work, showing up with pretty much nothing to his name. And you have to realize, thousands of people were making that same desperate journey, all driven by the simple hope of finding a job. You see, just getting to the city was only the first step. It was no guarantee of work. The reality was often bleak. You couldn't just walk up and get a job. It usually depended on who you knew, friends, family, some kind of connection. If you didn't have that, you could wait for weeks, sleeping under bridges or in shelters.
Okay, so what happens when new technology finally shows up that can do the work of all those hands? Well, for the workers whose entire survival depended on that job, these new machines didn't look like progress. No way. They looked like a threat.
And the perfect example of this is the spinning jenny. This machine was a total game changer for making textiles. It let one worker do the job of many, which massively boosted productivity. But think about it from the perspective of the thousands of women who made their living from hand spinning. This machine threatened to make them jobless overnight.
So you can see how this played out, right? It was almost a domino effect. A new machine is introduced. That directly threatens people's jobs, their way of feeding their families. For people already living right on the edge, that fear would quickly boil over into hostility and, yeah, even conflict.
And this wasn't just some abstract fear. It led to real, direct action. This report from 1790 describes workers physically attacking a manufacturer's property, vowing to cut the new machines to pieces. This wasn't just random violence. It was a desperate attempt to protect their jobs and their entire way of life. Okay, let's pull all this together. It's time for your exam-ready summary. If you're going to remember anything from this explainer, this is the part to really focus on.
So here are the 4 key takeaways for your answers. Number 1, a huge surplus of cheap labor just made people more economical than pricey machines. 2, lots of industries were seasonal, so buying machines for year-round work was a waste of money. 3. The market demanded tons of variety and intricate goods that only human hands could make. And finally, number 4, workers feared new technology because it was a direct threat to their jobs.
But hold on, the story doesn't stop there. After the 1840s, things started to change in a big way. A huge boom in building projects, roads, and especially railways would begin to shift the world of work all over again. To get the full story on that, make sure you watch the other parts of this chapter right here on our channel.
And listen, if you need more help getting prepped for your exams, A1 Institute is here for you. We've got notes, guidance, and everything you need for admission to help you succeed. Just check the description below for all our contact info. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you in the next explainer.